I was 13 years old when I first became a poetry junkie. In an opera house in San Francisco, I witnessed 20 poets ages 16 to 19 spill their hearts out across the stage. Their topics and skin colors varied, but the uproarious applause at the end of each piece sent the same message: you are not alone.
See your mute minds, jugglers and clowns, who search desperately for symbols with which to express emotions too great for words. I stand transfixed by their enchanting display of pointless actions, but the words have no meaning.
This is not a poetry slam.
Like last year I watched the poetry slam and this one girl mentioned this line about like cup of noodles, something about the styrofoam cup, and she just said it with like so much anger that I like felt that with her. I was like, yeah, man, like cup of noodles sucks. Like, I feel you.
6 tips on how to be a straight girl.
A poetry slam is kind of a crazy thing.
Damn you, Barack Obama, you pretty motherfucker.
Just for me, it's a way to vent. I wanted to take up kickboxing this year, and Mom wouldn't let me, so I had to go back to writing.
From the street corners, they brought it to their bars, their coffee houses, their museums. They commented on it, compared it, contrasted it, comprehended it, competed with it.
I do have a story to tell, and it is important.
And they called these competitions slams.
I kind of believe that poetry is the way that we create our reality.
Like odes and sonnets, like nobody really writes those anymore. It's like you said, it's all about poetry slam. It's all about like provocative poetry.
Language is the most powerful force in our world because the words that we use shape our thoughts.
The first time that I performed at a poetry slam, I passed out. I locked my knees, got really nervous, all the blood went to my feet, and I passed out into the microphone. It was stage fright and just not knowing. I mean, you get up there and the lights are in your face and there are way more people than, you know, like 4 people could show up and you get up there and you can only see like the 2 people in the first row and you're like, oh my God.
My stage fright helped me come up with every possible excuse to avoid my dream. My poetry wasn't good enough. I had writer's block. I had a lisp. I became a literary hypochondriac and stopped writing altogether. But I knew that, more than anything, I wanted to perform. And that was what led me to Oakland, and more specifically, to the Oakland Museum, where performance artist Meg Day was hosting an 8-week workshop for Youth Speaks. The goal of the workshop was to take aspiring poets and turn them into slam artists.
Youth Speaks is an organization that focuses mainly on bringing literacy and spoken word and poetry into inner city high schools throughout, specifically the Bay Area, but it is a national organization. It's a totally different scene when you're working with youth and when you're working with young people who have really interesting things to say and really fantastic ways to say them in, and it isn't so much about the competition as it is about being heard.
Intensify!
Since being in school and since teaching workshops, I kind of decided that, well, I came to understand that there is no such thing as writer's block. And I stopped depending on purely inspiration a long time ago, because it just doesn't work out. Because then if you're not inspired, or if you're in a shitty mood, or if you're not feeling it, then like, you don't write, and then if you don't write, then you don't write the next day either. I think it's a lot like exercising. I have a lot of teachers who and a lot of mentors who kind of follow the same credo of like, barf it up, we'll mop later. Like, you can't work with nothing.
I spent weeks racking my brain for something that I thought was good enough to perform in front of an audience, but nothing seemed to be working, and my frustration was steadily increasing. I was running out of time.
I think that the best thing to do when you have a poem like that you're not happy with is to go in and just rip it up. Like literally rip. Like I literally print it out, take an X-Acto knife, cut all the words up, rearrange them. What do I have? And a lot of times, all you get is one line.
And off of that one line, I began building a poem. At first it was tough going, but with the help of Meg and the rest of the Oakland crew, I began to find my voice.
it's just a way for people to, like I said a billion times, express themselves, but it's like it goes beyond that a little bit. It's like, I think once people realize that there's a lot that we don't understand, then people will turn to poetry.
You stand alone with the word woman, and you have never been this naked in your life.
Yeah.
Awesome. What have we got for Alyssa? Oh, I'm sweating.
I felt that.
Did you say you're sweating?
Yeah. With the date of the slam drawing nearer, we all switched into high gear. We wrote, we revised, and finally, we were ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for a poetry slam? Well, guess what? I am ready too. My name is Chris Bundy. I'll be your host for tonight.
The competition was fierce, with poets from all over the Bay Area showing up to slam. And then Bill Beckham, the poet laureate of San Jose, took the stage.
The most beautiful and shortest poem. As I kissed her goodnight, she said, stay.
You know, crying, the goosebumps, it makes you want to live better. Like, it makes you want to write, it makes you want to be part of a community, it makes you want to be best friends with the person on stage. It's just, that's the kind of connection where, having not met someone, you instantly feel very intimate with them, and very, there's the camaraderie that happens when you share that, when there's someone on stage willing to open up and level with you in that way.
The words of the other poets were lost on me. I couldn't stop thinking about my impending public humiliation. I was going to forget the words, or lock my knees and pass out like Meg did, or projectile vomit into the front row. Something horrible and traumatic like that. Just as I was about to get out of my seat and bolt for the door, Chris Bundy called my name.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Make a warm, thunderous applause. Make a welcoming sound with your hands like this for your next poet. Coming to the stage, put your hands together for Alyssa Young!
Hi, everybody. This is my first time on a mic.
The actual fear that kind of pumps adrenaline into you, I really need that in order to perform and feel like I've done a good job. I think that really propels the performance, and that, I think that's the difference between performing in your bedroom with a hairbrush and being in a room of 1,200 people.
As I stood on the stage adjusting my position, making sure my knees weren't locked, I thought back on just how far I had come. The long commutes to Oakland, the discarded poems, the self-doubt. It had all come down to this moment. And suddenly, I wasn't afraid anymore.
Woman waits in the springs of your mattress, and childhood swells around your ankles like the bathrobe you drop at your feet. A tendril of hair clings to your collarbone. It is in this small space that the past and future shake hands, congratulate themselves, and leave. You stand alone with the word woman, and you have never been this naked in your life. Thank you.
Alyssa, welcome home. See, it's an honor to us when a new poet gives up this poetic virginity and starts anew.
In fifth place, yours truly. We have in fourth place, Alyssa.
My advice to young poets would be to keep writing. I think I wish that someone had just broken it down that simply for me a long time ago, because the most important thing you can do is to show up. Like, show up to the piece of paper every single day.
When I was 8 years old, I said, I want to grow up to be a street poet. And here I am. So, dream achieved.